Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Coach's Corner. Yay! So excited today because we're right around the anniversary of the launch of Inspire, which makes this episode that much more special. So today we're going to hear from one of our awesome clients. His name is Steve. Hi, Steve.
Hi, how you doing?
Pretty good. Steve actually uses Inspire. So he's going to talk to us a little bit about how he's been doing with Inspire, the challenges he had along the way, the wins he's had as he's been learning how to use Inspire in his life. But before we dive into that, I want to make sure that I put it out there. If you are watching this episode for the first time, you don't have IrisVision, please call into IrisVision at 855-207-6665 with any questions that you might have, whether it's for yourself or for your loved one. Our awesome sales team is always excited and ready to answer any questions for you. If you're a current user of IrisVision, then definitely tune into some of these other episodes as well. And if you're interested in being on the Coach's Corner, please submit your inquiries or your auditions to info@irisvision.com. Just tell us a little bit about your story and your journey with IrisVision, and we'll see if we can get you on one of these episodes as well, because your story may impact somebody's life in such an awesome way. So I'm always looking for people who are willing to jump on, like Steve, and talk to us about how IrisVision has changed their lives. So with that said, Steve, you were talking to me a little bit about your coffee cup earlier. I was saying mine's just a plain old white one, having coffee here.
Mine is a red Yeti because I'm a big Alabama Crimson Tide fan. My daughter got me a red one. So
awesome.
and it keeps my coffee warm. I think I was telling you I'm bad about getting busy and I forget about my coffee and I'll turn to it and it'll be ice cold. So this cup's great. It'll keep it warm for an hour or so.
Oh, very cool.
Yes.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself, Steve. I know that you've done a lot with your life, especially in the low vision community. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm legally blind, as you know. I had cataracts at birth, congenital cataracts, they call it. And back in 1967, when I was born, they didn't have the medical technology they have today. And they waited too long, number one, to remove the cataracts. And I was like 14 months old when they removed the first one. And that's actually what causes me to be legally blind. My optic nerve did not have those early years to develop. And as you know, if you know anything about that kind of stuff, those are the critical times right there in the beginning. Right. So I don't have lenses in my eyes, and without these built-in, so to speak, contacts that I have now, my glasses would be about an inch thick. So I was able to get some lenses implanted on the front of the eye. Kind of, they call it a built-in contact, basically. And I have those along with my +3.5 or +4 or whatever they are lenses, and that helps me to see as good as I can, which is 20/200 in the best eye with my glasses on. And so dealt with that all my life. Grew up in Mobile, Alabama. I worked at the Alabama Institute for Deaf and Blind here in Mobile for 23 years, and at 2 other agencies, another 6 years, and I was also a school teacher for a couple of years.
Wow.
My degrees are in special education, my first degree, and then I earned my master's and then my PhD in instructional design about 5 years ago. I finally finished all that. And I'm sort of semi-retired right now, and I'm got my own little business going. I specialize in adaptive technology for the blind and low vision, and I can really do any kind of adaptive technology you want to talk about for any disability, but I specialize in blindness and low vision, and I've been teaching people to use these things for over 30 years now. Wow. And I was real impressed when I started reading about the iris. I'd been following IrisVision. I'd I'd seen a couple of the earlier products. I'd seen demos. I'd worked with people that had the devices and thought they were pretty good. But once I saw the Inspire, I was sold. I said, you know, that is more like what I want. That, and I just so you know, I've worked with, like I say, all kinds of technology, all kinds of people for 30 years, and I have never made a purchase of this magnitude for myself. So I've always, you know, been able to figure out ways to get by and ways. I'm really good at adapting, and that's what I helped with. I helped them learn to adapt, and so the IrisVision Inspire for me personally is a whole new thing, and I'm really loving it. It's great. It has changed my life in several ways.
That's awesome. And I definitely understand what you mean about adapting. I think when you've lost your sight earlier in life, it's easier for us to adapt to our situation.
I think so. Yeah. I remember running through the woods and jumping ramps on my bike and doing all that other stuff my brothers did, you know.
Sure.
People in the blindness agencies, the professionals, you know, they had mixed feelings about me because I seemed to know things, you know, and I think a lot of them were intimidated by it, that I always knew the answers, you know, but I did, and that's what I'm good at. I grew up doing it. I can't help it.
That's right.
I'm an automatic, natural. In fact, I'm writing a book on what I call adaptation technologies. So I'm currently working on that.
Great.
And I'm really excited about that. Ma'am?
Definitely let us know when you finish that book, because I'm sure that it'll be something that a lot of people would be very interested in reading about, for sure.
Well, yeah, and I like helping people. I like serving. You know, people say, what do you miss about working every day? And I say, well, I miss helping people every day, because that's what I used to do. I'd go into people's houses and help them do things. I'd go into their work site. I'd work with employers and help them help another person. You know, so I was always helping people. And so maybe this way I can help people in a bigger way. That's something I say in my preface, you know, that maybe through my experience in my life, this book will help you as a trainer or as a person with a disability in some way. And that's really what I want to do. So
That's
serve
awesome.
and help people. So
That's very
that's
cool.
me.
And I wanted to mention that you mentioned you're from Mobile, Alabama. I went to Huntsville, Alabama, because in high school, I went to the school for the deaf and blind in Arizona. And
Okay.
when I was in high school, I actually went to space camp out there.
It's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yes.
And Alabama Institute for Deaf and Blind is kind of our version of the Arizona School for the Blind. So, you know, we take people from all over the state, or we did. I'm not with them anymore. But so I worked in a regional center that was local in this community. And I worked as somebody just to help people in the community ages 0 on up, you know, do whatever it was they needed to do to help their lives be more independent and to function. And I've heard a lot and read a lot about Arizona School. It's a wonderful, wonderful school from what I can tell.
Yes, it definitely was a very cool place to be as a partially sighted young person, and learning about all the different techniques and technologies and everything, how to basically live a life as a partially sighted person. So it was cool. And of course, you know, being around others as well, and being exposed to like the deaf culture as well. It was really cool. It was a very cool experience.
It's
So,
very interesting, and we always laughed about that. You know, you couldn't have anything further apart than deaf and blind when it comes to conceiving and dealing with life, and yet they've always put us together. We used to kid about that.
That is so
But,
true.
yes.
So tell us about how life was in regard to some of the everyday things that you have to do without Inspire, and then how it is now with Inspire.
Well, I'll tell you what, I ran into a good one, even since you and I talked last in depth. I am in the process of refurbishing an old piano that I have. I like to play piano, and I've got this piano that was made in like 1918, so it's 100 years old. And somebody's refurbished it over the years too. I mean, it's in decent shape, but my wife and I decided it needs a new finish on it. And so anyway, I was trying to take these little screws out of these little hinges that are on there. And, I pride myself, like I said, on adapting and being able to do things. And I've always figured out how to get the screws out or change the doorknob or what have you. I can do it, but I've never been able to see the screwdriver go into the head of the screw. And I can do that now with this IrisVision. I can wear this thing. I could unscrew those hinges. I didn't have any problems. I didn't have to feel around and, actually seeing the tip of that screwdriver go into the head of that screw, it's there. There's no question. And boom, you just unscrew. That's why these people are so good at it. That's why they're so fast. It's easy for them, and so I was really blown away by that. And I was able to, I think I removed about 8 hinges in like 10 minutes. And I was just, these screws were little, tiny screws, and they were, they were old and either rusted or corroded. And I just popped them right out of there and didn't have any problem. And I could see what I was doing. It was so wonderful. And so now I've really gotten bold, and I had a lamp, a switch on it was broken. So I'm able now to use the wire cutters and see the right gauge to strip the wires and strip the wires off. And I repaired that lamp. It only took me about 20 minutes, and I cut that switch out of there, and I've spliced the wire back together and followed the proper procedures. And I was able to see to do that. And I've never been able to see to do things like that. So I'm so excited. I mean, I think my lawnmower is probably shaking in the shed because I might be headed that way next. So I'm really excited about that. The other thing I was telling you about was the music.
Right.
Studied music early in my career before I got into special ed. I thought I was going to be a piano performer. I was going to be a piano performance major, and I had a hard time sight reading because, to get the music big enough for me to see it, I mean, you'd have to have a big scroll of paper, and you'd had to spread it across the whole piano because, on the piano, you can't be holding things up or whatever. You got to sit in the right position. And like on my guitar, I could sit up and I could get real close to it and see it and read a little bit. But on the piano, I never could. And so I memorized everything. And, I don't know if you've ever played anything like Bach or Beethoven or Mozart, but you have to memorize those right off the bat. That's kind of a difficult way to do it.
I can't say I've ever played anything like that. Or
yeah.
I've never
so
played
now I can, now with the Inspire, I can sit back and I can see the music good enough to read it. And so although I'm fairly average, I'm a fairly average, unprofessional piano player. I can play, pretty good. And so now I'm sight reading like somebody who just started sight reading. So it's kind of slow and tedious for me. But, I think in about a year's time, I might catch up to where I can actually sit and read a piece for the first time and play it. So I'm really excited about that.
That's very good, because I know with music, especially piano music, you have to be able to see both
both lines,
right? Yeah.
And with the Inspire, I'm able to do that because it has such a good field of view. It also allows me to adjust the field of view, which I really like. But I find that generally where it's set, I think it's by default set on 90. I think that's I think that works good for me in most cases. And yes, I can see even 2 sets of lines, and I can see the notes all at the same time. So it's really awesome. And then I think I was telling you for really for reading hard copy paperwork, it's because on the computer, I'm very adept at using Zoom. I used to train people to do that, and screen readers and everything else. So I'm good at the computer. I have used the computer with Inspire, and I'm able to use it with very little magnification if I'm using Inspire, but I'm still working on that. One of the things I used to always tell my students is, look, you're not going to pull this thing out of the box and get all the benefit out of it all at once. You're going to have to work at it. You're going to have to get used to it. And although this is an amazing device, nothing could replace good eyesight. And so nothing can work as quickly as the human brain. and make those adjustments. So you're going to have to work with it. And that's the process I'm going through on the computer. And I think I told you I had to use the magnification with the Inspire even last week when we talked about it. I've gotten to where I don't have to use any magnification already. I've figured out, just more about how I need to sit and where I need to look and just new ways of finding my cursor. And I'm able to use it now. I'm slower than I am using Zoom on the computer like I'm used to, but I'm going to get faster and faster and faster. And eventually I think I'll get to where I use it exclusively on the computer. So for now, I'm not using it exclusively on the computer, but for paperwork, stuff like this, I think I was telling you I would show you how I used to do it and then show you what I'm doing now. Like if I'm working with something like this is a tax document, and I hate the way that's doing that. But and so if I was trying to read this document before, I would have used these glasses that I have. And they're very thick, and I would put them on in front of these glasses like this. And then, as you know, when you've got really strong magnification like that, you have to hold everything very close. So I'd have to figure out, like I'm doing now, where it was I wanted to read. And I would have to hold it, like this to read every little thing. So I couldn't just, sit back with my folder and flip through the pages, glance at things. But now, using this wonderful device that I now have, I can sit with this and get it going. And I could just hold the whole folder, and I'm holding it. You were asking me because you can't see the folder, I know, but I'm holding it what I would call a normal level. So from where I'm sitting right now, my hands are resting on the top of my desk, and I am able to flip through my papers and scan them and kind of see which paper I want to select, and then read that paper. And when I'm done, close my folder. Much like I see
It's
people
just
who
like
are
regular
sighted.
arm's length, about regular arm's length away, roughly, you would say? Maybe.
Ma'am?
About regular arm's length away, you would say?
Yeah, regular arm's length, just like you would see anybody say sitting and reading their hymnal in church or what have you. Just it seemed about normal distance and length, and it's so much more comfortable. I'm getting so much more faster going through these folders that I got excited. I've already redone my whole top drawer in my file cabinet and got everything in a little better order. And so in that way, it has significantly changed things for me. It's a whole new world for me now. I can do that kind of work so much faster. And, you can imagine even in research, there's a lot of times the only way to get an article is a print copy. And even in research, I have print copies, a lot of things I don't have on computers. So I'm able to reference my books a lot faster, because that same method I was just showing you with the glasses, I'd have to do with a book of regular print size. And so now, it's really incredible. I'm working on research for my book that I'm writing, and I have on several occasions now sat down with a PDF copy that was printed, or even one of my old textbooks from college, and been able to find things and reference things so much quicker than I used to.
And what level of magnification would you say that you're typically using?
For me, at the distance I was just talking about, it's about 5.
Okay. So about halfway, because it goes up.
Yeah, about halfway, between 5 and 6. Sometimes I have to go to 6. And I've noticed on the different, that's one thing I love about the Inspire is you have the different modes you can use it in. Exactly. And sometimes I found that, the scene mode actually works better for me depending on the paper and the document and the way it looks. Most of the time, the reading mode is much better. But in certain cases, in certain lighting and stuff like that, I have found that if I just go with the scene, it's even better. And oddly enough, sometimes when I'm doing things, I find that the RP mode works best for me. And I certainly don't have RP.
Yeah, I love that you're saying that, though, because if I'm going to be your coach,
right,
you know that I'm going to tell you, don't worry about the label on the mode. Right. Don't worry that it's called scene or television or reading or RP. Don't worry about that. use every mode in lots of different ways. So I always say that. So I'm glad that you're bringing that up. And by the way, I was your coach too, right?
She was my coach. That's right. And you know, I've told people all these things that I'm saying now. Of course, I've learned them over the years, and I've told people over the years. People used to say, you know, when Apple came out with their accessibility features for everything, well, I got really excited about Apple, and I use a Mac computer now, but before all you could get was, you know, adaptations for IBM compatibles. And so everybody wanted to start calling me a Mac guy or an Apple guy. Oh, Steve's an Apple guy, you know, and I'd say, no, Steve is a what works guy.
There you go.
If Apple works for you, then Apple it is. If IBM works for you, let's go with it. I don't give a hoot what the brand name is or anything else. Just use what works for you and what makes your life better. That's what you need to work with. And so yeah, I'm not scared of modes. I've tried everything on this unit, or I think I have. You know, I'm probably going to run into something I haven't tried yet, which is something I always tell my students too. You know, never underestimate your technology. These things, they'll do all kinds of things, and until you get into a situation where you need it, you might not know it'll do it. You got to just try things. But I was out weeding my front yard with this thing on.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I could actually see the stem of the weed in the middle of the grass going down into the dirt where I could grab just that weed and pull it. I've never been able to do that.
That's
so
really
that's incredible for me. I don't mean to get all worked up, but it really is a wonderful device.
I like it because it shows your energy and your excitement. And this is exactly why I love doing this show and having clients like yourself come onto the show and talk about your wins, because it is exciting. It's exciting to be able to be in a sighted world all of a sudden, regardless of what that sighted world is, you know, a digital sighted world, or, you know, because that's for us, right? We're going to be in the digital sighted world. And it just makes such a difference to be able to do those little things like the handiwork around the house, like you were talking about, being able to see a screwdriver and a screw, or, you know, the everyday things that you need to do, like all our grown-up adult stuff, you know, like the tax forms that you were talking about, and down to doing the gardening. Like these are things that a lot of people don't really think about because they're sighted and it's just natural to them. But for us, it's a big deal. I mean, you repaired a lamp, you know, that is huge.
Very simple.
You know, it's amazing. And so
I have the knowledge to do that kind of stuff. And in a lot of cases, I would figure out a way to get it done. And it would be very tedious and I'd be very frustrated. And, you know, but now I can do those things quickly. I know how to do them. And now I can, with this device, I can see good enough to do them. So I can do a lot more for myself. My wife's delighted. You know, I can fix these little things now that
the honey-do list is growing.
The honey-do list is getting larger and larger. And so it's really been a wonderful experience. And it's, you know, just one point I'd like to definitely leave you and your viewers with is that, like I said earlier, it's like I always told my students, you know, we are not God. God is God and we are not. And we don't make miracles, but we do make things that work pretty darn good. And if you will take the time and to sit down and work with that device. I used to have so many clients, and I worked with a lot of seniors. I mean, I've taught seniors who were 90 years old to use an iPhone. So I've done a lot of that, and they would get so frustrated because it didn't happen perfectly that first time. And I'm like, look, you're going to do that 100 times before it'll be perfect, but you just got to keep working at it. And the excitement on their face after a few weeks or a month of me coming and giving them lessons, and them realizing that they could text their granddaughter now, and they could, you know, do different things on their phone. They could get emails on their phone, and they could, you know, communicate with the outside world, was just, that was part of my job that I could never forget. It was so rewarding to help people with things like that. So give it a chance. You know, if you're going to buy this device, I know y'all have the wonderful 30-day rebate policy.
That's right.
Which is a very wonderful thing. But I would suggest to people that, you know, if I had gave this back at 30 days, I would have only learned about maybe half as much as I've learned about it. And let's see, what have I had it maybe 50 or 60 days now? But I bought it back in July, so maybe not even that long. But I've learned so much more about it. I learn so much more about it every day. Every time I use it, I learn new things, little things that you can't even really describe. You just, those are those things you do. We're adaptable creatures at our base. Our nature is to adapt. That's what humans do. That's why I always thought the term assistive technology, that's about like saying wet water. Give me a glass of wet water. Because what does technology do? Technology assists people in doing the things and accomplishing the things they want to do. And that's not just for people with disabilities. I know it's a marketing thing now and everything, but yeah, it's like I said, wet water. Come on. It's technology.
Right. Technology. And IrisVision has definitely done a fantastic job of harnessing that technology and utilizing it to help people like us, partially sighted people all over the world, be able to regain some of their confidence and independence again. So I'm so glad that you were able to sit with us and chat, Steve. Thank you so much. I'm sure that your story is going to be very impactful for our viewers out there. And
I hope it helps somebody, sure. And
yes, absolutely.
If anybody ever wants to talk to me, you can share my information. I'm happy to talk with people.
Very cool. Well, there you go, guys. If you have any questions, any comments that are, maybe about IrisVision, or if you have any questions for Steve about how he's using his IrisVision, please put them below. Put the questions below. We'll definitely make sure he gets them, or we'll definitely make sure that we answer any questions that you might have. And again, please, if you're interested in speaking to a sales rep, they're always available. They're really awesome. They have all kinds of knowledge when it comes to our device and whether it'll be a good fit for you or not. And you just call 855-207-6665. Or if you have any questions, you can always email us at support@irisvision.com. If you want to be a part of the Coaches Corner, I'm more than happy to take a look at your journey. So please submit your story and your journey to info@irisvision.com. Or again, let us know below in the comments that maybe you'd be interested in being part of the Coaches Corner. So Steve, thank you so much for your time. Definitely had an awesome time chatting with you and learning about all the amazing accomplishments that you've had with your Inspire so far.
Delighted to do it anytime.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.